What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Counting Wisdom podcast. Today is December 9th, Wednesday, and I am going to be talking about hope today. We should always just be hoping, continuing to just believe for good things. Life can get difficult. I think everybody, especially when you get to your 20s or your late 20s, you start to really believe wow, I am just in for it. I'm just experiencing some difficulties, and we're going to be talking about that today. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. Please check out my website, washy.com. You can just get blog posts there, other biblical content, but mostly just a blog. You can connect to my other podcast, Self-Care Millennial. But today, we're going to be talking about hope. It's always important to hope. We're supposed to just hope for good things. And I think I say it like that because it's somewhat difficult. It's somewhat of a challenge to continue to believe that something good is coming your way. And I think that if we really try our best, we give God our best, we give Him everything that we got, and really just go for it, I believe He'll honor that. And if we are having trouble with giving God our best, we can always ask Him. He is so willing to help. He is so willing to just give us, the help that we need. And so we can really rely on God to make something of our life. I just got a book by John Piper called Make Something with Your Life. That's not the name. It's called Don't Waste Your Life. I just pretty much paraphrase that title, but it's called Don't Waste Your Life. And I think sometimes we get to life and we're like, okay, what do I do? There's so many options out there that it's almost like, you're just like in shock, and you're like, I'm like, what do I do? And so I think what I've always been wanting is a business. I've always been wanting my own business since I was a kid, or at least a older kid, like a young kid. But I think that God, He brings us along a path that is somewhat He builds us up, and then He has to test us to see what is within us. And sometimes that can be, pretty difficult. It's pretty hard to get tested by God sometimes, because we may not really be prepared, or we may just, it might hurt, and we're like, okay, so what is next? What are we going to be going through next? And so I keep coming back to this verse in a lot of different podcasts, and it's probably the theme for the few verses, but God promises that it will go well for us. Life will go well, we'll live well when we keep His commandments and we fear Him. You can find that in Deuteronomy 5:29, and that's one of the promises of God that I keep to, is that I know that if I am just following God's commands and I know them, I'm studying His commands. There's a cool command list that you can find either on my channel by searching Counting Wisdom list of commands. You should be able to find it, but that's not an all-inclusive one that just gets you thinking about it. But there are 613 commands from God, and I recommend finding a video that it should be about 2 hours or 3 hours long, and you can listen to that, and you can even speed up the video if you click the three dots dots at the top right corner of probably your iPhone or your phone, you can speed up the video and you can get through the commands a little bit faster. But I recommend listening to those because, when I first started looking at the law, it was about, I would say, in 2014-ish. And I really gained insight about, like, I was like, ooh, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this here, whatever I was doing. And that's that revelation that you get from studying God's law. And of course, you can sum up the laws by loving God and loving people. But I believe when you actually study the laws, it actually gets you to know, like, okay, how do you love people? It's by, things like, oh, you don't steal something from somebody. Like, if you're stealing something from someone close to you or someone not close to you, it's easy to say, like, oh, okay, well, I'm not loving that person. And just different things like that. And so it's a common question. I mean, even that guy in the gospel, message, he was like, who is my neighbor? You remember when he asked Jesus that? And, that's so important because sometimes we're kind of like, it's kind of a question, at least for me, and I know some other people deal with this too, but it's kind of a question of like, okay, what does this actually look like played out in my life? Like, okay, loving God, and that means a Bible verse that I really found helpful for that was, it explained you love God by keeping to his ways and by clinging to God, clinging to him. Clinging is what I'm trying to say. It might not be clear over this mic, but clinging means, to stick close to God, and to really be his son or daughter, or to really be his friend, to really be his servant, asking God, what do you want me to do with my life? Where do you want me to go? And repeatedly asking him that. I think a lot of times we think we can just ask once for God and be like, oh, God, I asked you about that, like, a year ago, where is it? But I think we have to repeatedly ask for things. I think Jesus teaches that in the gospel, how he wants us to pray and not give up. And I think not giving up, to me, it means I continue to ask the Lord. I continue to tell God, this is what I want. I like that you have this set up for me to have, but I don't have it yet. And God, I want this to be a part of my life. And he has good things in store for us. There's that story that Jesus says that, which of you, when your son or daughter asks for a fish, will give them a stone? Like, if your son or daughter is like, hey, I'm hungry, feed me something to eat, and they probably won't say feed me, but which of us are going to be like, no, like, you can't eat? Of course, maybe like, if we're like standing in line for something important or something like that, but most cases you're not going to ever say that for a long period of time. Like, you're going to be like, yeah, let's get you some food. Like, yeah, you're hungry, okay, what do you want to eat? And or you might say like, oh, let's wait until we get home. But my point is that you're going to feed your child. And so, Jesus says that how much more when we ask God for something specific, is he going to be inclined to do it for us? And so, there's a debate about, I guess, whether God says no or yes. And I guess I picture God saying yes to all of our requests when we are living like he wants us to live. I think sometimes we try to ask for things, but we're not necessarily living like he wants us to live. And so that's what the journey I'm on. I'm on the journey that, I'm going to say, you know what, today I actually think I lived the best that I could live in God's sight, and I did what he wanted me to do. And I think being able to say that at the end of your day, you may not have accomplished every goal. Like, I don't have my storefront business, that's not what it means, but something along the lines of, with everything that God gave me to do today, that I did my best, amongst all the problems that are going on. Sometimes you have things that happen to you that prevent you from doing certain things. Like, you just can't. And God realizes, but I think if we communicate, it's kind of like, if you're talking to your boss, and you have to communicate to your boss when you're not able to do something. I think that's what we have to do. If we're struggling with some sin, we have to really come to God and be like, God, I am really trying to overcome this, but I'm having some issues. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to just bring all these different things to God and be like, hey, I'm having some issues with this. Or he comes to me and he's like, I think lately it's been in the lines of, God has coming to me and being like, hey, yo, what's up? You got some problems here. And it seems like he's kind of like, asking me what's going on. And so that's when I would, my genuine reply to God right now for you guys, listening, this is nothing too private, but my genuine reply to God is like, you know what? I actually don't know. I don't know what is happening. That's my legit reply to someone if God were to ask me about some of the things that are going on. And then other times I could be like, you know what, God, I did mess up there. But it just depends. But either way, I believe that God is going to give me good things in my life. I believe, just like with David, even though I'm not necessarily on the same path, not path, but, David's a great person. But, of course, I want to be great. But, just like David said, he was like, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And so I think that's something to hope for. And then we have the kingdom of God, the New Jerusalem, to hope for. We have to hope of like, we're going to a better place, a new heaven and a new earth. I certainly want to be counted as someone that is going to be sticking around for that. We don't want to come up in God's books, even though it seems long from now, like it's like something that we don't have to worry about. I think that it gets risky when we start to, of course we live for the day, but, if we're not thinking about like when we meet our maker, what is he going to say about our life, then I think we're doing ourselves a disservice, and so I think as much as it is, as we're capable, we have a lot of life challenges that happen that prevent us from, really thinking a lot about, the way of God. But sometimes we just have to really make that choice, and Joshua, I just found out that it was in Joshua, I think it's chapter 22, where Joshua asked the people, choose you this day who you will serve. And then Joshua, he says that classic line, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I think every Christian, but of course every person alive, that would be the ideal state, but every Christian should be saying that same thing. Forget about all these hurts and hang-ups. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to do what the Lord wants. We're going to, if it's something that the Lord wants me to do that I don't agree with, I'm going to have to get his help with that. But I'm not going to stand alongside something that I know goes against my faith and against, Christianity and against, not sinning, something that's a double negative there. But I meant to say that, like, standing up as much as I can to remove sin from me, I think as young people, and again, I make a lot of content for young adults, and trying to just offer a peer-to-peer conversation. And I think as young people, we sometimes go along with the crowd and give into peer pressure, and that really hurts us in our life, and we make a lot of mistakes from that. And so I think if we give into the real peer pressure of the good peer pressure to make good decisions, I think those type of things we have to search for. I think a lot of people, it's not something that is just out there every day. But anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope this gives you something to think about, and just continue hoping. You're already probably hoping. And so there's 2 billion Christians in the world today. There's 2 billion people that are claiming to be Christians. There's 7 billion people. So, technically we're still a minority, but, there's still, good hope to be had. And I hope this is encouraging. Please visit my website again, washy.com, WASHYE.com, for YE Company, Yahweh everywhere, just speaking about Yahweh everywhere. So God bless you, and thank you so much. I will talk to you on the next podcast. See ya.